In the near future, SAI Corp develops Giftias, highly lifelike androids with human emotions, memories, and bodies. They serve as companions in a variety of roles, from family members to lovers. They have a lifespan of just 9 years and 4 months, and when their time expires, they inevitably go berserk as their memory banks dry up. Before this happens, they are retrieved by a terminal service, responsible for wiping their memories. The job is a thankless one, as retrievers must bear witness to painful goodbyes between loved ones. Tsukasa, a new employee at Terminal Service 1, is paired with a Giftia named Isla to perform retrievals. As a romance between them blossoms, he is confronted by the reality that she is also approaching her final days. If someone you cherished had 1 month left to live, how would you spend it with them? Tsukasa, a high school graduate, joins Terminal Service 1. He is greeted by Chief Mayanobe, who assigns him to his superior, Kazuki. He is introduced to Michiru, another employee, and 3 Giftias, Constance, Sherry, and Zach. Mayanobe suggests he partner up with Isla. Michiru takes them out on their first job. Isla remarks that their job is a thankless one since all they do is rip apart memories. They meet with Hajime to retrieve his Giftia, Edward. They tearfully bid him farewell, and Michiru explains how their job works. The owners sign a consent form prior to retrieval, and they must be present throughout the entire process to ensure no sensitive data is leaked. The Giftia is then sent back to SAI Corp for storage. Tsukasa thinks this is simple enough, but he is sorely mistaken. The next day, they visit Chizu, the owner of their next target, Nina, who refuses to speak to them. They decide to skip her and move on to the next one, but Isla, supposedly a veteran in the field, freezes up. She senses that their targets escaped through the back, and when she tries chasing them, she belly flops into a dumpster. After being scolded by Kazuki, Tsukasa learns that she used to be Isla's partner, explaining why she is so protective of her. Over the next several days, he and Isla attempt to get through to Chizu, but to no avail. When her latest attempt fails, she climbs up over the fence and meets Nina. Chizu tries to turn them away, but Nina convinces her to let them stay. Tsukasa attempts to convince Chizu to give up Nina with discount offers, but she retorts that Nina is the only family she has. Meanwhile, Isla has a heart-to-heart conversation with Nina, who reveals that she is sad to say goodbye to her grandmother, but she knows if things continue, she will eventually cause problems. Overhearing this, Chizu realizes she has been acting selfishly all this time and agrees to sign the consent form. She says her final goodbyes to Nina, who gives her some final reminders. Tsukasa is faced with the grim reality that their job is not as simple as he thought, while Isla is faced with the grim reality that she has to go to the bathroom. Tsukasa meets Yasutaka, a veteran spotter. He appears to be laid back and not well respected by his Giftia, Sherry. After speaking with Tsukasa, everyone learns that he only got a job at terminal service due to his father's connections with Godu, the company president. After botching another retrieval job, Tsukasa is harshly scolded by Michiru. Kazuki invites Tsukasa out for drinks to offer him some guidance about Isla. She admits that when something goes wrong, Isla is usually at fault, but she sincerely asks him to get along with her. When he returns to the office, he is notified that Isla is in the unit testing room, and he curiously pays her a visit. He meets their office's in-house engineering staff, Eru and Mikijiro. They explain that ever since she was sent back into the field, Isla has been visiting them more frequently to train, but as Tsukasa can see, things aren't going so well. Isla explains to him that she is afraid of holding him back in the field, so Tsukasa suggests that he handle negotiations for now so she has more time to get back into the groove. When Michiru encounters Tsukasa seeking negotiation advice from Constance, she imparts Kazuki's retrieval philosophy on him. Unlike other terminal service offices that prioritize simply retrieving the Giftia, Kazuki believes in reconciling and understanding the owner's feelings first. Tsukasa takes this to heart. That evening, Yasutaka notices that Isla is in the training room, but he comments that it is pointless. Tsukasa is confused, and Yasutaka explains that Giftias cannot make up for lost time since they are not programmed to get rusty to begin with. They can only decline over time. The next day, he and Isla visit Yutaka and his Giftia, Max. After watching them work, they convince him to sign the consent form. Meanwhile, Yasutaka confronts Kazuki about her not telling Tsukasa the truth. Isla expires in 2,000 hours, just a little under 3 months. To improve their relationship as partners, Tsukasa is ordered to live with Isla. Although he is excited at first, he is disheartened that she ignores him while inside her room. The next morning, he meets Eru, Zack, and Michiru, the latter extremely suspicious that he might try some funny business with Isla. When he reveals the issues he is having, Eru suggests that he accidentally walk into her while she is showering, the crown jewel of romantic comedy. Tsukasa actually tries this, but Isla ignores him as normal. However, she seems to talk to him just fine at the office. All the guys at the office try giving him advice, from being a macho man to playfully pushing Isla down, but all of this simply incurs Michiru's wrath. Noticing his desperation to connect with Isla, Kazuki suggests that he take her out instead. Tsukasa takes Isla out to the department store under the pretext of buying gifts for a certain friend. After trying on some clothes and buying some tea leaves, he invites her to a nearby amusement park. However, when she learns that everything today was so that he could make memories with her, she turns him down and leaves. Wondering what he should do, Tsukasa buys a small plush and gives it to her later. Isla apologizes for leaving him, but he says it is water under the bridge. Using the tea leaves they bought, Isla brews some tea so they can enjoy it together. Tsukasa is overjoyed that he is finally getting closer to Isla. He is assigned to retrieve Marcia, who acts as a mother figure to Suta after his parents passed away 3 years ago. Marcia is energetic, cheerful, and welcoming. She lets them in and explains her current role as Suta's caretaker. When Suta arrives, he wants to sign Marcia away as soon as possible, believing all the stories she has told so far have been lies. Tsukasa is hesitant to get him to sign the form, and Marcia explains that ever since she revealed her lifespan to Suta, he has become hostile. Michiru suggests that they find a way to remind Suta that he was loved. Meanwhile, Mayanobe is chewed out at the director's meeting for having overhead costs nearly 5 times as much as any other terminal, and he is warned to make changes soon. While going through some old photo albums, Tsukasa suggests that they make the strawberry tart that Suta had for his birthday 3 years ago, back when his parents were still alive. After failing to convince Suta to trust in his memories, Michiru volunteers to help Tsukasa bake the strawberry tart. Marcia is relieved because Tsukasa's cooking skill would get him kicked out of Hell's Kitchen. Michiru herself, raised by a Giftia, understands Suta's feelings. She explains to Suta that she tried to keep her father beyond his expiry date, which led to him becoming a wanderer. Giftias reduced to their basic motor functions with a tendency to go berserk. When they throw Suta his surprise party, he is initially irritable, but once he tries the strawberry tart, memories of his happy childhood come flooding back. Marcia reassures him that even when she is gone, she and his parents will always watch over him. However, the next day, a strange man arrives to retrieve Marcia instead. Tsukasa is alarmed to learn that Marcia has been abducted by a black market retriever. With only 24 hours left before she expires, an all-out search ensues, with Godu mobilizing their private security force R. Security. They turn the city upside down, while Suta can do nothing but wait. Kazuki picks them up in a car and drives them to a location believed to be a hideout for the black market smugglers. However, they are stopped by R. Security, who refuses to let them through. An irritated Kazuki convinces Shinonome, an old acquaintance of hers, to share his intel, confirming that Marcia is likely in the area. As they gear up to retrieve her, Tsukasa is given a special gun designed to instantly destroy the software of a Giftia, to be used only as a last resort. Michiru has her reservations about cooperating with R. Security, but Kazuki convinces her to play along. Along the way, she explains to Tsukasa that 3 years ago her father was killed by R. Security in an incident that ended in Kazuki damaging her leg. Even though she is mostly to blame for how things ended up, she still resents them for escalating things. They are then met with bad news. They found the black market retriever, but Marcia is missing. Kazuki tells them that Marcia is likely a wanderer, and she orders them to use whatever means necessary to take her in. Isla collides with Marcia, but she is evidently no longer in control of herself. Upon seeing Suta, she kidnaps him. Tsukasa alerts the others, and he helps Isla to her feet. She insists on finishing the job herself, and together they follow Marcia. They find her on her rooftop, and Tsukasa attempts a final negotiation, but she goes berserk again, forcing him to use the data destruction gun. 3 years ago, during the fateful incident with Michiru's father, Kazuki was forced to respond alone after Isla malfunctioned. Afterwards, the two split. The Marcia incident is wrapped up, and Tsukasa is placed on desk duty while Isla recovers. She wakes up to find him sleeping by her bedside, and she apologizes for how useless she was in the previous mission. Tsukasa reassures her that everything is alright and smiles at her. She reports back to work the next day, but she seems strangely distracted by Tsukasa. Eru and Michiru probe her, and Eru suspects it might be love, so she suggests stalking Tsukasa to learn more about him, but Michiru says she wants no part in their shenanigans. The next day, Michiru joins them in their shenanigans. They spot him reading Isla's diary, which she provided to him so he could better understand the job. To their horror, Sherry throws a pen straight into Eru's binoculars, which damn nearly kills her. When Michiru leaves, Eru and Isla continue their surveillance over Tsukasa, watching him from a restaurant to a bar before getting caught in the showers. She explains to Michiru why she had been watching Tsukasa all this time. She was curious how he can keep smiling despite everything that's happened. Michiru recounts that after the Mercia incident, Tsukasa personally visited Suta to apologize for how things turned out. Tsukasa, more so than anyone else, is unlikely to ever forget the incident. Isla is cleared for duty in the field, but she is anxious about only causing trouble. While looking for Tsukasa, she overhears him having a conversation with Kazuki. Tsukasa is crushed to learn that Isla only has a month left to live, but when Kazuki gives him the option of waiting for a new partner, Tsukasa insists on staying with Isla to the very end. Isla is overjoyed to hear this, and when she meets him later, she welcomes him home with a smile. Isla's new demeanor has convinced Tsukasa that the time is ripe to ask her out on a date. However, the other guys at the office are worried he might be jumping the gun. Constance suggests he just go out and say it. After several missed opportunities due to her repeated blunders, Tsukasa manages to finally ask her out on a date. When Kazuki hears of this, she pulls him aside and warns him not to get ahead of himself. The days pass by in a flash as Tsukasa grows to be a more competent worker, while Isla continues to train. Michiru, who hadn't heard of the date until now, is secretly bothered by it, since she has a not-so-secret crush on Kazuki. She later meets with Isla, along with Eru and Zack, to discuss her upcoming date. They're dismayed to learn that most of the date's details are left to Isla's discretion, so they float some ideas around as to where their date should be. With her only casual clothes torn up, Eru offers to mend it for her. Later that evening, Isla decides on visiting the amusement park, since it was the same place that she last turned him down. However, while going through Isla's diary, Tsukasa is concerned to see that her last entry was of her trip with Kazuki to the same amusement park 3 years ago. When they enter the park, Isla goes straight for the same bench where she and Kazuki would sit while she people-watched. However, this all stopped after the incident 3 years ago. Kazuki takes her out on all the rides and attractions she's never been on before, and they finish it with a ride on a Ferris wheel. They reminisce about their first meeting at a nearby tower, but Tsukasa suddenly collapses. He awakens to find Isla keeping watch over him, and he apologizes for the trouble he caused. Isla admits that she has less than a month remaining to live, and Tsukasa asks to be her partner until the very end. While out on a routine retrieval, Tsukasa is unnerved that the client would prefer that a new OS be installed in her Giftia's body, which she has done multiple times in the past. He asks the others if it is possible for the old memories to resurface, but he is told that there is no precedent. One afternoon, Tsukasa and Isla meet Andy, a Giftia from Terminal 3 sent to hunt a fugitive target. Eru calls out to her as Olivia, but it is evident that this is no longer the personality in Andy's body. During their retrieval, Andy performs her duties with ruthless precision, without regard for the owner's feelings. Although Tsukasa doesn't like it, Yasutaka explains that Olivia's actions are actually standard procedure, and it is only Terminal 1 that does it Kazuki's way since she started it 3 years ago. He runs into Eru, who is meeting with Andy. Although she is sad that her OS was replaced, she is just happy to be able to grab Olivia's chest after all this time. The next day, Eru asks Tsukasa to accompany her to a festival, since she also invited Andy. Tsukasa is curious if erased memories could resurface, and Eru says this is a prime opportunity to test it himself. Isla, jealous of how much attention the other Giftias are getting, insists on going as well. As Eru and Andy tour the festival just like they used to, Eru is forced to face the reality that she is no longer the same person. Meanwhile, Tsukasa gets lost. Eru has accepted that things will never be the same, so she decides to make new memories with Andy. Tsukasa asks her if she is okay with things as they are, and she replies that there is no point in agonizing over the past since memories are only made in the present. Tsukasa realizes that Isla is missing and frantically searches for her, finding her sitting by herself. She is glad he found her, but she still carries heavy feelings in her heart. She says that if being with her would only cause Tsukasa pain in the end, then she would rather not be his partner. However, Tsukasa doesn't care and wants to be with her for as long as possible, and he boldly declares his love for her. Isla turns him down, and Tsukasa is left feeling depressed. Michiru confronts Isla about it, and she explains that she just had no idea how to respond. Michiru is flustered to hear the full details, but she quickly regains her composure and suggests that, in the meantime, the two should live apart. She takes him into her dorm alongside Zack, while Isla, now wearing an animal onesie, is sent to live with Eru. Michiru grows tired of his gloomy and mopey attitude and reminds him to keep his work and personal life separate for the sake of their clients. She recounts that Kazuki kept visiting her after her father died and was so moved by her sincerity that she decided to join the terminal service. Isla sees them leave together the next day and assumes that they had an illicit relationship. After clearing up the misunderstanding, Isla asks for some time to properly come up with an answer. The next few days pass by uneventfully, but their relationship has been somewhat repaired. However, one night, after a lengthy discussion with Michiru, Isla comes to a decision. She should stay away from Tsukasa. Michiru is clearly confused since they just confirmed Isla loved him. She responds that their love should not happen, especially since she only has a month left. Kazuki and Yasutaka have conflicting views over how things turned out. While Kazuki curses the confession as nothing more than a hindrance, Yasutaka remarks that it was simply Tsukasa doing what he believed was right. Michiru had no idea that Isla's lifespan was almost up and is shocked that Tsukasa knew before she did. She asks him why he went ahead with the confession anyway, and he replies that he wants to make as many memories as possible with her. Although in tears, Michiru promises to support their romance. However, Kazuki summons both Tsukasa and Isla to inform them that she is dissolving their partnership. Kazuki places Isla under her, while she assigns Tsukasa to work with Constance. Although Tsukasa protests, Isla believes this is for the best. Kazuki takes Isla back to her room, and, unable to bear the awkwardness, she brings out enough alcohol to take down an elephant. She wakes up the next morning with no memory of the previous night and sees that she has drawn on Isla's face with markers. Tsukasa once again protests the current arrangement, but Kazuki reassures him that she'll turn Isla around. She proceeds to go with Isla to retrieve their target, Sarah, whose owner, Antonio, is a notorious mafia boss. Although things looked dicey at first, they gain entry into Antonio's mansion. He agrees to sign the consent form under the condition that Isla play with Sarah on her last day, since he used her for the past 9 years as a bodyguard and not once did she live a normal life. Isla agrees, but only if he comes with them. They spend their time walking through a flower field, and even if it is fleeting, it is a moment they will cherish forever. Meanwhile, Constance tells Kazuki that Isla has undergone an undeniable change since he joined them. He explains that their costly way of retrieval was first introduced by Isla herself, and Kazuki only began advocating for it 3 years ago. When they return, Kazuki confronts Isla about her feelings for Tsukasa. She says that dissolving their partnership 3 years ago was the biggest mistake of her life, and if she thinks that staying away from Tsukasa is the best course of action, then she is gravely mistaken, because this will leave him with nothing but cold and bitter memories of her. The next day, Isla works up the courage to reciprocate her feelings towards Tsukasa. Until her last breath, she wants to make many more happy memories with him, as if to say, "I was here with you." For the first time in 3 years, Isla writes in her diary about how she became Tsukasa's girlfriend. The distance between them has shrunk, and they have an almost newlywed air about them. Tsukasa invites her out on a dinner date, and she agrees. Their romance is met with varying enthusiasm by their coworkers. Eru, Zack, and Michiru are happy they have gone official, but the latter is still somewhat jealous that Isla got to experience something romantic. Later, Yasutaka gives Tsukasa some tips on how to keep the romance alive by always having surprises, which also rubs off on Isla. At Ren's suggestion, she considers cooking Tsukasa a handmade bento. She asks Michiru for some help, but she can't help but ask her how it feels to be in a romantic relationship and wonders if the two have kissed already. Isla replies that it feels harder to talk to him now, which is why she wants to express herself through cooking. In the end, at Constance's suggestion, they decide to cook a meal together. They later drop by Antonio's house to continue their work, and Tsukasa asks Sarah how she would surprise someone she liked. Knowing that he likes Isla, she replies what Isla told her. Nothing makes one happier than spending time with someone you love. That evening, Tsukasa and Isla head out to buy ingredients for their dinner, as well as some matching pajamas. He wonders how to make Isla feel more special, and she replies that she wishes to spend her days with him like they always have. They cook their omu rice together, and they bashfully paint a heart out with ketchup. Tsukasa notices that she started keeping another diary and is embarrassed to see her entry gushing about their date. As he turns in for the night, Isla writes one more entry, how she hopes to spend the rest of her days with him. One night, Isla wakes up in terror and joins Tsukasa in bed. The next morning, he becomes painfully aware that her time is nearing its end. At the office, their coworkers give them a variety of couple-related tickets, brochures, and clothes, all in support of their romance. They decide to make use of their day off to watch a romance movie, which leaves Isla's heart pounding long after it finishes. Wanting to emulate the film, she asks to give Tsukasa a lap pillow. While overlooking the sunset, she shares how she is scared to sleep lately, anxious that one day she might not wake up. He does his best to put her mind at ease. However, the next day, Tsukasa's stomach sinks when Kazuki gives him his next assignment, Isla. Later, he takes notes from Isla about keeping an herb garden. She sadly wishes she could have grown more, and he learns all that he can while time still allows it. Michiru yells at him for spending his day off at work, but both he and Isla reassure her that this is how they agreed to spend their remaining days together. That night, Tsukasa gives Isla the consent form for Isla's retrieval. He considers running away with her, but she does her best to comfort him. In the end, he signs it without a fuss, and they realize they are now spending their final hours together. The next day, they head out to complete their last job together, retrieving Sarah. They then receive a video message from Michiru inviting them to a farewell party for Isla. That night, they celebrate like they've never celebrated before, making as many warm and happy memories as possible for Tsukasa and Isla. When they walk home, Isla thanks Tsukasa for everything that he's done for her, and she is truly glad to have met him and everyone. He notices that she always whispers something to her targets before they are sent away and asks what it is. She replies, "I hope that one day you'll be reunited with the one you cherish." Tsukasa and Isla spend their remaining time talking about her old memories. As the sun rises, they are reminded that it is their last day together. They spend most of it tidying up their room and taking a bath together. They say one last goodbye to their room, and Isla leaves a letter before they set out together. They head to work as usual, but Kazuki is there to drive them away, calling them idiots for spending their last day at the office. Before they leave, Isla thanks Kazuki for the chance to work at the terminal service. With so much time on their hands, Tsukasa and Isla have the same idea on how to spend it, the amusement park. They ride as many rides and watch as many attractions as possible, but Tsukasa's heart sinks when he sees that sunset is already upon them. They soldier on until the amusement park itself closes, and Isla is reminded of the times she spent watching the smiles on people's faces. Isla convinces the operator to let them ride the Ferris wheel one last time, and they take turns saying things they like about each other. He mostly points out her flaws, like how she is short and clumsy, but she focuses on his diligence, and especially how he holds back his tears and forces a smile. Isla hands him her deactivation ring, wanting him to be the one to end it. Tsukasa begins to break down in tears, and Isla remarks that this is the first time she has seen him cry. He puts the ring on her and whispers the same thing she always does, that she one day be reunited with the one she cherishes. As they share a kiss, the ring activates, and her time officially comes to an end. He carries her out to Kazuki, who thanks him for being there with her until the end. He and the other terminal service employees then open letters she had handwritten to each and every one of them, thanking them for the time they had spent together and the memories that they had shared. In an epilogue, Tsukasa returns to Terminal Service 1 from a 9-month training program to become a better employee. He is greeted by Kazuki, who introduces him to his new Giftia partner. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching!